Welcome to Talk Tickers. We're here to give you the shortcut, the key insights from today's Barrick Mining Corporation earnings call. They trade under B on the NYSE. Big players in gold and copper, as you know. We'll cut through the jargon and get straight to what matters for their performance and where they might be heading.
Yeah, and overall, it looked like a pretty positive set of results this quarter. Production actually met the top end of their guidance range.
Oh, good start.
Definitely. And they're forecasting further improvements for the rest of the year. The dividend, for those watching, stays at 10 cents per share.
Okay, holding steady there.
Right. And they kept chipping away at debt, plus the share buyback program is still active.
Any big strategic moves?
Yes, actually, a significant one. They announced the sale of the Donlin project.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, for $1 billion. Seems like they're really sharpening their focus on what they call their tier 1 assets.
Makes sense. And what about growth projects? Anything moving there?
Oh, yeah. Plenty of momentum. You've got Pueblo Viejo ramping up. 4 Mile is moving into pre-feasibility.
4 Mile, right? That's the one with the high grades.
Exactly. We'll get into that. And both Lemon and Ricochet are actually moving into the construction phase now.
So shovels in the ground.
Pretty much. And interestingly, they even flagged a new discovery within the Ricochet mining lease itself.
Potential upside there. And financially, how do the numbers stack up?
Looked pretty solid. Significant year-on-year growth in operating cash flow, free cash flow, earnings too. Higher gold prices obviously helped.
Obviously.
What's interesting, though, is the realized gold price they reported for Q1. Well, it already looks a bit conservative compared to where the spot price is now.
Good point.
Yeah.
So potential tailwind there. And copper.
Copper had a strong quarter, too. Keeps them on track for their full-year targets for both metals.
Okay, good overview. Let's dive a bit deeper then. What's driving these results operationally?
Well, operationally, a few things stand out. They completed some significant projects, Pueblo Viejo, Nevada Goldmines, Lamana. Completing those really positions them well for the rest of the year and, beyond.
Right, setting the stage.
Exactly. Now, Nevada Goldmines did see lower production, but that was expected. Planned maintenance at Carlin.
Oh, okay.
But importantly, they're seeing efficiency gains there, new Komatsu fleet, some organizational streamlining. It's actually leading to lower mining unit costs.
So getting leaner even with the temporary dip?
That's the idea. Cortez saw lower production too. Fewer high-grade tons from underground, lower-grade stuff on the leach pads.
Okay.
But then at Turquoise Ridge, throughput at the Sage autoclave was up. Lower grades offset some of that volume gain, but recovery performance held strong. They're still getting the gold out efficiently.
Good. Efficiency is key.
And the planned shutdown at Gold Quarry finished up in April, so that's back online.
Right. Now, you mentioned 4 Miles earlier. That seems like a big focus.
Huge focus. The grades there are reportedly more than double what they see at Gold Rush.
Wow.
And early geotech data suggests the rock is more competent, stronger, which could be, beneficial for mining.
Makes sense.
So it's moved into the feasibility study phase now. They're really digging into the resource footprint, the ore body characteristics, geometallurgy, they call it, and the best ways to actually get access.
Lots of groundwork.
Yeah, and permitting baseline studies are underway too. Selling Donlin really underlines how much they're prioritizing capital for 4 Mile. It's a clear strategic choice.
Seems like it. What about outside the U.S., Latin America, Asia-Pac?
Stellar performance there, they said. The Pueblo Viejo expansion in Latin America is going well. The target is over 800,000 ounces a year once it's fully ramped up.
That's a significant number.
It is. They had a planned 35-day plant shutdown for upgrades, but throughput apparently improved in April. They seem on track for guidance this year with that big 800K plus target for 2026.
Okay.
They also mentioned the El Naranjo tailings facility development, including relocating communities following IFC standards.
Right, the social license aspect. Important.
Very. Then there's Ricochet, officially in construction now.
The Copper Gold project.
That's the one. They're already seeing promising early signs, apparently. Heavy equipment is moving in. They've appointed a lead EPCM partner. Barrick clearly sees this as a world-class system. Huge long-term potential they feel isn't fully priced in yet.
Big investment though, right?
Oh, yeah. Phase 1 and 2, looking at around $10 billion total investment. Barrick's equity piece for Phase 1 is estimated between $1.4 and $1.7 billion.
A major commitment. Shows their conviction in copper, I suppose.
Definitely signals that. Now, switching continents, Africa and the Middle East faced a few more, let's say, environmental or geopolitical challenges.
Okay.
Operations at Loulo-Gounkoto in Mali are still suspended. They're talking with the transitional government, trying to find a solution. We'll come back to that.
Right.
La Moana in Africa, though, has moved into construction for its expansion. Kibali saw lower production, but that was planned lower underground grades. Throughput should improve. They're also working on solar power installation at Kibali.
Good for costs and sustainability.
Exactly. And there's this ARK-KCD corridor at Kibali, basically a big potential brownfields growth area, could materially extend the mine life there.
Interesting. Any other highlights from the region?
North Mara and Bulyanhulu in Tanzania delivered solid quarters. Lamana and Zambia saw lower Q1 output due to planned mill work and lower grades, but that should pick up later. And the big super project at Lamana aims to double production, expected online in 2028. So, a mixed bag, but lots of investment happening.
It certainly is a global operation with moving parts everywhere. How are they framing sustainability across all this?
It remains, a cornerstone for them, integrated right into the business, not just an add-on. They talked about strong progress on their journey to zero incidents, focusing on management being present on site, managing by walking about, as they put it.
Hands-on approach.
Seems so. They reported improvements in safety stats, lost time injuries, total recordable injuries, and crucially, no major Class 1 or 2 environmental incidents, and Class 3 events were way down.
That's positive.
Water use efficiency is still over 80%. They got the environmental permits for Ricochet, which is a big hurdle cleared.
Crucial for that project.
Absolutely. And the community resettlement at Pueblo Viejo is progressing, aligned with those IFC standards. They've even rolled out a social metric tracker tied to UN Sustainable Development Goals.
So trying to quantify the social impact, too.
Yeah, looks like a comprehensive effort.
Okay, let's talk portfolio management. We mentioned Donlin going, Hemlo possibly on the block. What's the bigger picture?
The picture is definitely focus on those tier 1 assets, selling Donlin, testing the market for Hemlo. It underlines that. They stressed it doesn't mean less commitment to Canada, though. They've actually launched a big drill program in the southern Abitibi. Plus, exploration continues in the U.S.
So Hemlo just doesn't meet that top-tier hurdle anymore.
That's the message. Good operation, has potential, but maybe a better fit for a mid-tier company. They think it's attractive for someone like that.
Right. And they're refilling the pipeline elsewhere.
Yep. Rebuilding exploration in Canada, the Norse drilling project, permitting for Sturgeon Lake. Renewing the Zaldivar mining license is also a key focus.
And Pascualama. That project's been around a while.
Now called Elto. They're applying for drilling permits to reevaluate its potential. It's seen as part of the larger Lama project complex, exploration near Valadera too. Also making progress on realizing value from the old El Indio assets Altaris is in process, and a pre-feasibility study with Newmont on Abiota.
Lots of activity. A very active portfolio management approach. What about the cost structure? You said costs were up.
Yeah, all-in sustaining costs were higher year over year. Part of that was currency, the Canadian and Aussie dollars weakening against the U.S. dollar.
Okay, makes sense.
But also increased investment, catching up on planned maintenance in Nevada, which costs money up front, and importantly, investing in organic growth. They added something like 110 million gold equivalent ounces to reserves through their own exploration.
That's a huge addition.
It is. So the expectation is costs should come down as production ramps up from these investments in the coming years. It's investment spending, essentially.
Investing now for future lower costs and more production.
Got it.
Succession is always a topic for big companies. Any updates?
They touched on it, said the process has ongoing board oversight. It's a sort of 12-month rolling program, goes deep into the organization, includes an executive development program.
So it's not a last-minute thing?
No, it seems quite structured. The board's involved. They mentioned 3 years isn't really a long time in a business like Barrick's. A more formal process might emerge closer to, say, 2028 or when Ricochet is done.
Okay, a measured approach.
Yeah.
Now, back to Mali Loulo-Gounkoto. Sounds like a difficult situation.
It does. Operations still suspended. Barrick said they've reached agreements 3 times with the government, only for them to walk it back each time.
Frustrating.
Very. So they've started an exit arbitration process using the agreed dispute resolution mechanism.
So heading towards a formal split.
Potentially, but they did say they still prefer a negotiated settlement. A key sticking point seems to be what they called the unnecessary retention of their executive team in the country.
That adds another layer of complexity.
Definitely a situation to watch.
Okay. Shifting gears to capital allocation. Where's the money going? What are the priorities?
Priority number one is a healthy balance sheet. The target seems to be getting between zero net debt and maybe $500 million positive cash.
And once they hit that,
Then a special dividend is on the table. Share buybacks are also a key tool, especially, when they sell assets like Donlin. They see buybacks as accretive across the board.
so the Donlin cash, where's that likely headed?
Likely a mix. Debt reduction, more share buybacks, and maybe that special dividend, depending on where they are relative to that zero net debt target.
A balanced approach. Balance sheet, shareholder returns. Makes sense. One last thing. The idea of redomiciling to the U.S. still being considered.
It's been on the radar for years, they confirmed. There are some structural inefficiencies, apparently, with holding U.S. assets under the current setup.
Right.
But they stressed any move would consider their accumulated tax losses in the U.S. They wouldn't just discard those. The main challenge is finding a really strong, compelling, logical reason to make such a big change.
So it's complex and the trigger hasn't been pulled yet.
Exactly. Still under evaluation, seems like.
All right, that covers a lot of ground from the call.
Yeah.
Now let's get into our favorite segment. This is not financial advice.
Time for some outrageous but plausible trade ideas inspired by this.
Okay, let's brainstorm. So you look at Barrick's long-term focus, right? Tier 1 gold, but this big push into copper with Ricochet. And everyone's talking about a potential copper squeeze from the energy transition.
Right, copper's hot.
Exactly. So here's idea one. Maybe you consider a long position in a copper ETF or perhaps a basket of carefully chosen junior copper miners. The key is projects in stable regions.
Okay, thematic copper play. Where's the outrageous part? The outrageous part could be how you fund it. Maybe. Maybe you short a basket of gold miners that are highly leveraged, really focused on just pumping out dividends, perhaps in jurisdictions seen as safe, but maybe lacking growth.
Ooh, controversial.
The bet there is that Barrick's disciplined, long-term growth strategy, focusing on quality and copper, ultimately beats chasing short-term yield in potentially stagnant assets.
Interesting contrast in strategies.
Okay.
My turn. Idea two. Think about the Donlin cash coming in. The focus on buybacks, maybe a special dividend. What about a kind of barbell strategy focused just on Barrick?
Okay, how would that work?
You take a core long position in Barrick stock itself, betting on those buybacks and potential dividends, boosting returns. Simple enough.
Right.
But on the speculative side, the other end of the barbell, you allocate a small slice to out-of-the-money call options on Barrick.
Leveraging up on the upside?
Exactly. You're betting the market eventually wakes up to the real value locked-in projects like 4 Mile and Ricochet, especially if metal prices cooperate, leading to a share price pop way beyond current expectations.
The outrageous part being the option risk, the potential to lose that premium if the pop doesn't happen fast enough.
Precisely. High risk, potentially high reward if their long game really pays off and the market catches on. Again, folks, just ideas, not advice. Do your homework.
Absolutely. So wrapping this up, Barrick's call paints a picture of a company focused on long-term value, Tier 1 gold, growing copper exposure.
Yeah, the key takeaways for me are that solid operational performance, the strategic portfolio moves like Donlin, real momentum in those growth projects, and a disciplined hand on the purse strings.
Right. They're navigating a complex world, clearly investing heavily in their future, both assets and sustainability.
We've given you the deep dive, the essential overview, but definitely you should do your own research. Think about what these insights mean for your own perspective. What stands out most to you about Barrick's direction?
Thank you for joining us on Talk Tickers for this breakdown of the Barrick Mining earnings call. We aim to give you the crucial info you need.
Yep, stay informed with us. Join us next time when we unpack another key earnings report. And hey, if you've got suggestions for calls we should cover or want more analysis, let us know.